Believe it or not, there are actually people out there that insist that Rush are not prog. Rush understandably have a fierce and loyal fan base, described as the Trekkies of classic rock by Rolling Stone magazine. Almost as if by liking this band we're admitted into the hallowed halls of geekiness, where we can watch reruns of Blake 7 and enjoy an annual subscription to Pornhub. There's no doubt that Rush are a heavily prog-influenced band, but they were kind of setting out their stall when the titans of that classic prog era were beginning to fade, really. Well, not fade, perhaps mutate into something else, something more commercial, more digestible, something not so prog. And yes, and Genesis would trade in their corduroys and mellotrons in preparation for the chinos and blonde-streaked mulleted phase. Even King Crimson would cut their hair and reform, although still managing somehow to look like a conference of geography teachers. But there was a fundamental change in sound with these classic prog bands with Yes moving away from the more esoteric ramblings, if you will, and Genesis, of course, abandoned that hymnal pastoral atmospheres explored on those early albums. Yes released Going for the One, Genesis looked for more hooky, less arcane material, and the less said about Love Beach the better. But many of these may well have just been responding to that anti-music resurgence that saw those phlegmy upstarts pogoing their way through the inner city sprawl. And Jethro Tull, they just decided to go all hey nonny nay on us, with Ian Anderson as some boggle-eyed country squire. Not so much anarchy in the UK, but more country life. And speaking of which, John Lydon has gone on to say that Aqualung is one of his favourite albums, no doubt recognising something punky about that wheezy old soap dodger on the cover. And Rush, those latecomers to the prog party, released Caress of Steel in 1975, introduced us to the Necromancer. Caress of Steel was an album described by AllMusic as unfocused, but no doubt it puts down the markers towards their most excellent 2112 album. But for me, it's Farewell to Kings where this band really shine. An album dismissed by Robert Christgau as a grade D record, the most obnoxious band currently making a killing on the zonked out teen circuit. But I think there's something remarkable happening with this band at this time, and we can forgive them for those dreadful kimono shots. So let's explore this idea that Rush are not prog. I mean, what is so proggy about this band? Number one, musical virtuosity. I mean, there's no doubt this band were equipped with a remarkable set of musical chops and were exceptional musicians, but that alone does not a prog band make. Otherwise we'd be discussing the Bill Evans trio in the context of King Crimson and Van de Graaff Generator. Number two would be that exploration of fantasy themes and that conceptual thread. Yeah, certainly dystopian narratives, alternative realities, black holes and the voyages of Rocinante. But fanciful journeys and conceptual trippiness does not a prog album make. Otherwise we'd have to throw in the mix SF Sorrow and Ogden's Nut Gone Flake. But there's certainly no doubting that Neil Peart's introduction to this band sees them mining the rich source of literature and philosophical musings which elevates this band from a hard rock, bluesier, almost Led Zeppelin-esque outfit to the band that they would become. Number three is musical palette. Many argue that Rush's musical palette is not extensive enough for prog. I mean, certainly we don't get any flugelhorns or Peruvian nose harps or have some beardy guy wheezing away puffing into a set of panpipes. But even a lot of these prog bands in the late 70s had consigned their mellotrons to the attic, their heavily reinforced attics, by the way, and dispensing with that melodic flutiness for a more harder-edged sound, as I've already mentioned. So Rush seemed to be kind of lost between two stools, I guess. Number four would be odd time signatures and excursions. Well, Rush certainly have that in abundance. But much of this band's progginess is down to their exploration of extended suites, were heavily influenced by Yes. Of course, Neil Peart, as well, as I've said, wanted to mine the rich resource that was literature and philosophy. In terms of progressive rock, Alex Lifeson has said that he's not sure that Rush actually belong at that specific party, telling Rolling Stone that in terms of the genre, I don't know if we ever thought of ourselves as a progressive rock band. But to me, Rush are a progressive rock band with those wonderful albums like 2112, Hemispheres, Farewell to Kings, and the much later Clockwork Angels. So what is Rush's proggiest album? I know I've spoken briefly about Farewell to Kings being one of my favourites, but I think Hemispheres, I mean, what an album that is. This one came out in 1978, of course. Rolling Stone said it was very much the end of their proggy phase, which is something I fundamentally disagree with. I think it's fair to say that this band, after Hemispheres, employ a certain conceptual restraint, but nevertheless the musical excursions and flourishes are still very much apparent in some of what many would argue are their best albums. But I think with this one they pull quite a few prog rabbits out of the hat. Extended songs, multi-part suites, long instrumental passages, rapidly shifting tempos and time signatures, complicated unison riffs and synthesizer orchestrations. And they employ all of these elements beautifully, enabling it to enhance the band's sound rather than obscuring it. This contains La Villa Strangiato, I hope I've said it correctly, which has been a concert staple for quite a while with this band, and it certainly shows off their musical virtuosity. I think one critic at the time called it musical wankery. But what I love about this record is that continuation of that epic piece that started on the wonderful Farewell to Kings, I should add, their Renaissance Fair album, as I call it. I have done a ranking video of this band, but I must admit my opinion often changes with these albums. That's the beauty of their music, I think. You know, you're constantly hearing different things. Much to the point now that I actually champion their synth period, even more so than their classic 70s albums. And I realise that might have some of you spitting your kidneys out at the screen, but so be it. I just adore the very chilly atmospherics explored on albums like Grace Under Pressure and Signals. And I must admit I love the artwork on this as well by graphic artist Hugh Syme, who'd collaborated with Rush quite a few times, I think, over their career. There's a painting that pays homage to the Son of Man by René Magritte. And I love the idea of hemispheres, the difference between the right side and the left side of the brain, the Apolline and Dionysian aspects of the human character. All brilliant and sufficiently proggy stuff, I may add. But as regards those Rush are not prog party poopers, they're viewing progressive rock, its origins emerging from the swirl of psychedelia and the avant-garde in the late 60s. Essentially a British and European movement that navigates itself away from the paisley shirts and bell-bottoms of 1967. Not a club for those Johnny-come-lately bands like Kansas, Styx and Rush. But I would suggest that these guys were just displaying a severe case of prog snobbery. For me, prog is a broad church. And yes, Rush are a little bit late for that classic era, but they lay down the foundations for a new substrand of prog. I mean, where would bands like Dream Theater, Porcupine Tree and Haken be if not for this band? Food for thought, eh? Anyway, you've been watching a video by Classic Album Review. If you've enjoyed this video, please share it. Do click like, subscribe, check that notification bell as it all helps this channel to grow. And do check the links below this video for ways you can support the work done here. Anyway, I'll leave you with my closing salvo, which is, hope you're well, staying safe, and that you keep listening.